Hello everyone, today we'll be building the EC Orbit. So first things first, you're going to want to make sure to gather your materials. You're going to need a tape, hot glue gun, and a razor blade or scissors. Then you're going to want to locate all the pieces for the EC Orbit from the flight test kit and identify them. So I displayed them right here. This is what they should look like, these two sections. Next we want to go ahead and just pop out all the pieces that you're going to be needing for this build. So now that we have all the pieces for the main body, we go ahead and set all the other pieces such as the fuselage and the wings itself to the side so we can focus on the main body. First things first, you're going to want to apply just a very thin layer of hot glue gun right down the middle of this solid piece. This is just to strengthen the piece because this is how we're going to use it for the build. So once we have to let that dry for about a minute, we then peel off the paper from the top of the body and then just apply the same process towards the other side. This should be pretty easy since it's just one centerpiece. It should come off pretty easily. Just aside from the fact that if you did apply some glue and there's some excess on the top, it's just going to stay there, but just be very careful and gentle with taking off the pieces as you can see right here. Then just go ahead and take off the paper from the wings as well. And like I said, flip it and do the same process on the other side. So now that we have flipped the main body itself, we go ahead and apply a piece of tape towards the opposite side of the crease line, as you can see here. This will add strength to the bending of the wings and durability. And then just go ahead and smooth it out and do the same process on the other side. Now you can go ahead and use either scissors or a razor blade to cut off any excess tape. I just went ahead and used scissors, but it would be more convenient to use the razor blade if you have it flat against the table because you're able to be more precise. Next, with either a ballpoint pen or your fingertips as well, just like I did here, we crush down where the wings will need to go up. Just go ahead and do the same process on the other side. Next, we go ahead and lift the wing and apply that dihedral gauge to give us that proper dihedral angle to the wings. And then we go ahead and take a piece of tape uh, and apply it to the body first. Make sure to hold it flat against the table and apply it thoroughly, just like shown here. Then we just go ahead and remove the dihedral, apply it to the other wing, and just repeat the same process on this side. The dihedral is useful for the orbit because it will be able to stabilize itself when the pressure is applied to a certain wing. And once again, just use your scissors to cut off any excess tape. Just we check our main body and make sure everything's working properly, and it's good to go. Then we just go ahead and move our focus to the main fuselage. And the edged out section is where the control board will be mounted. The doubler with the notch will be mounted on that same side, and the doubler that is not notched will be glued on the opposite side. So we just go ahead and peel off the paper just like done before. And then we go ahead and perform a fit test. So it's pretty much just how the pieces are meant to be glued. So once you're happy and satisfied with how everything looks on both ends, then you go ahead and add just a thin layer of glue around the perimeter of the doubler and apply pressure just to make sure that the part is just glued on properly onto the main center section. And then you just want to go ahead and do the same process on the other side, perform a fit test just to see if everything's aligned properly. And then go ahead and add that thin layer of glue around the perimeter. And then once you're done with this, just go ahead and apply it to the main center section and apply pressure. So now with both the center section and the main body complete, we go ahead and combine these two pieces. So go ahead and install the center section onto the main body. You're going to want to line up the front tab and slide it all the way back onto the rear tab matches as well. So once everything looks good and lined up, now we go ahead and add a thin layer of glue from the opening all the way to the front of the nose and let it dry and apply to the other side. And then you're just going to want to go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side. And of course, you want to add a thin layer of glue around the rails of the bottom section as well. So now we go ahead and worry to now towards adding the elevator onto the main body. You're gonna want to remove the paper from this piece as well. Just see how the piece fits onto the main section right there. Um, and yes, for this you're gonna want to use your tape as well. You don't really want to add too much glue. If anything, you're gonna need just a small piece of glue. So cut out a piece of tape, just as shown here. You're gonna want to apply half towards the elevator and then apply a piece of tape to the back of the elevator and attach it to the body lightly and gently. So the elevator should be slightly kicked up, and that's because it will need a positive angle of attack to fly properly. Um, so yeah, once this is done properly, and you cut out any excess tape, like I said before, just with scissors or a razor blade should be fine. So now we go ahead and fold the piece over, and we go ahead and add just a small amount of hot glue to the tab so that we make sure it stays on there. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to working with the annular wing itself. So from the two pieces, we're gonna go ahead and begin the process of removing the paper on both sides. So now in this process, with your two index fingers and thumbs, begin folding slowly the annular wing till it gives you the required curvature. You're gonna want to be really careful and gentle with this because you don't want it to break. Of course, if it breaks, we can just apply any glue or tape, but you're gonna need to adjust your center of gravity. So as shown here, I'm just working my way along the wing, just being really careful and gentle, till it gives me that curvature that we need on both wings. So now, if you haven't already, go ahead and cut out the sections where we're going to be applying these wings. So there should be tape on top of that because it's what we use the tape to apply that dihedral gauge angle to the wings itself. So once it's cut out, we go ahead and perform a fit test of the top section of the annular wing. So as you can see, we see that everything fits properly. Now that we're happy with the way it looks, we go ahead and add just small drops of glue onto the sides of the annular wing, and then we go ahead and apply gently onto the main section of the body. Apply pressure for just a couple of minutes, or actually just seconds should be fine. You're going to want to just make sure that everything's properly aligned. Um, this is just to make sure that it keeps that curvature and there's no movement with, with the wing itself. Then we just go ahead and flip it over and perform the same process on the other side. So at this point our main body should be done and it should be good to go. So now we go ahead and move towards working with the electronics of the orbit itself. So we're gonna need the propellers. These are just the same electronics used in the previous video, the Easy Nemesis. I removed them from that glider itself. So you're gonna want to begin by applying the right wing or the right motor itself, as you can see here, just with one piece of tape. So now we just go ahead and do the same process with the other motor here. We just get a piece of tape and apply it onto the foam. We make sure that everything's properly there. You want to make sure that the cables are as close to the frame as possible because we are going to tape those to the frame. So now we go ahead and pass the right motor lead. Yes, this is the right motor lead, not the left one as it stated before. Through this opening right here, then we're going to pass it through the opening in the transmitter. This is going to be to allow for easier connection onto the transmitter, so it should be white to white connection, just as shown here. Be very gentle with these pins, just a small amount of pressure should be fine to connect. Then we go ahead and do the same process with the red, which should be the left motor. So same process, just red to red pin connection. So now that we have these two connected, we go ahead and place a transmitter on here. This will be just to check we do a test fit to see if it's properly aligned, everything's properly set. And then once we see that everything is good, all the connections are good, we are going to go ahead and tape this here. We're not going to go ahead and glue it just as they do in the videos. This is just because if we do apply glue, then it's going to be harder to remove, as shown in the previous videos before for the Easy Nemesis and the Voyager. But yeah, just a piece of tape should be good enough. So now that after we have just the cables, we make sure that like I said, the transmitter is set in place properly. And then we're going to go ahead and connect the battery onto the transmitter. Also, always make sure to charge your battery before. We don't want to waste more time. So yeah, now that all this is set, you're just going to want to turn on your transmitter. And then of course check your center of gravity with the battery now on, and turn on the controller as shown here. Remember, you need to put the 3 AA batteries. You move the left joystick back and forth, and it should be good to go.